Another week, it's that time again. Sideline Sports. We got John, Jake, a special guest, Sean Russi, certified MLB and NFL agent out of Agency One Sports. Welcome to the show, Sean.
Appreciate it.
So let's start with Sean tonight. So Sean, you have some exciting news going on with the agency. What's going on?
Yeah, I appreciate you getting me a platform, Joe. Thank you. So I've been with Agency One now for about 2 years, but just recently we did do a merger acquisition with Primetime Sports and their owner, Phil Toronto, who's also a MLB certified agent. Phil brings with him about 40 total clients, probably about 28 on the MILB side, and another dozen or so on the professional side in the international scene, Asia, North Korea type things, Japan. So we're definitely excited about that. We've been trying to get the baseball going for a little bit now. We've been, the football momentum's been rolling, as Joe knows. And we've been trying to get the baseball kind of close to where that football side is. And, this kind of gives us a kick, that we need. And we also brought on another veteran agent, Jason Hoffman, who actually played about 15 years ago for the Cardinals. And he's been an agent basically ever since he's retired. So we've got two good guys we think we found on the baseball side. And, like I said, the momentum's big, and we're very excited about, the acquisition of Primetime Sports with Phil. But yeah, that's kind of the news we have coming out of the baseball division right now. Obviously, as you guys know, MLB's on lockout, so the other news is kind of slow.
Yeah. Before we move on, JB, you specifically said to remind you if you missed it, we started. I mean, it was maybe 2 minutes ago, right before we start. You say, "Guys, remind me if I forget," and then somehow you just like that forgot. I think it's the old man brain that you have. I always make fun of that. That's what happens.
JB, you're out of order. I mean, I didn't even get to my craziness.
Oh, John, we don't want to talk
about
out of order. Before we move on, just real quick, shout out to Score No Score because JB, you completely forgot, which is okay. Score No Score, sponsor of this video. What's that?
It was a test. I wanted to make sure we were all on board.
Always.
You guys, you passed, Jake. John did not pass.
I don't know if John was paying attention.
I got a lot of things on my mind.
John, I don't even want to talk about what you're thinking about. You scare me. You know that? Anyway,
thanks.
Sponsor this video and every video of Sideline Sports in general, Score No Score. Thank you to Eric for his continued to support us. Check out the Score No Score app. It's pretty simple. You go on and you play. You basically watch a game, baseball, which there is none right now, football, which there is still plenty of football to be played. Go on, choose a game, decide, whatever the teams are they going to score on this drive or not? Simple as that. You put in-game money on it, and you bet will they score or won't they score. If you win your bet, just like real life, you get the earnings, you get your portion of the earnings. If you lose, well, too bad. Sucks to be you. The best part is you're going to have the three of us on there at all times. We're always playing, always paying attention to it, always having a good time. You play with friends, do all that. So check out Score No Score. Anything else to add on that front before we move on to the rest of this?
I don't know how I forgot about Score No Score. It was a lot of fun last night with the Steelers game.
That was a good game. But
really was. Yeah. We'll get to that in a few minutes. So back to your merger now, Sean. So how big is the agency now? How many agents do you have?
So on the football side, we've got about 10 certified agents. And then on the baseball side now we have 3. And we've kind of made sure, we don't want more agents than clients. So we've kind of made sure to grow at the same pace that the client side is growing, strategically from that standpoint on both sides. But yeah, so we've got 13 total agents. And then now with the merger, the total clients in the firm, I think we're about 80 total clients, maybe 85 or a little bit higher with both sides being counted. So we're 2 years old, and we're growing pretty rapidly. We're all kind of happy with what we're doing, but just excited about where it could possibly go this year and next year, and obviously down the line.
Right. Well,
now on the football side, so we only have one game left, the national championship game coming up on Monday. So I would imagine right now you're probably signing a whole bunch of clients. What goes on in the off season between now and the combine? What are you doing with all your clients?
Sure. So, I mean, just to speak what's going on this week, we've had guys that are done with their bowl games. They've started to check in for the combine training, getting their medical out of the way, getting into their routines, getting into their position work, getting into their meetings every day. Basically, these guys will be down here for 8 weeks, doing every day, 8 to 4, sometimes longer, depending what their day looks like each day in and out. And then in between, some of these guys will be invited to these all-star games, the Senior Bowl, the East-West Shrine, NFLPA. So they'll take a break to do that. But then they'll be right back down here to train again. And they'll train right up until Pro Day. And then at that point, after Pro Day, we all kind of sit and wait while they train back at home. But our job is to get them ready for Pro Day. It's kind of like getting these guys ready for an SAT. It's that final test, college, 4 years of film. Now you got one last test, which is Pro Day.
Now, how much contact do you have with the teams before the draft from the combine in that in-between period?
So we pretty much are always contacting teams, but I would say it really picks up, right after the combine wraps up, because that's and the Pro Days, because that's really the last thing. All the All-Star games are done at that point. You've seen the players for the last time, and then at that point, the teams are really starting to move guys up and down the board and kind of getting a feel of, where they might go and where they might go, pick who they might pick in the draft. So we really start, heavy in March, but I mean, it's really an everyday thing that we're contacting teams, but they really pick up in terms of moving their board around once that combine and Pro Days have all wrapped up and those test numbers are in.
How much information do they give you when it comes to how interested they are in your client, how likely they are to take your client? How much information do they give you? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So
leading up to the draft,
usually, the rule of thumb is they'll definitely call you. But you'll start to hear from guys, 2-3 weeks from the draft, and they'll kind of start, asking specific questions or kind of telling you where they think that they may try to grab your guy at. And that's, for us, that's just knowledge that we'll take and sit on till draft day. And then draft day, while we're all in our own little war room working, we kind of sit there as a team and kind of decide, like, what are the right buttons to push and, what teams we should call and can we possibly, push this team into a draft pick because this other team's also calling.
So do you use that as leverage?
Yeah. I mean, we had a situation last year with a late round pick and we had 2 veteran agents working the phones where a team was saying they were going to pick them. Another team saying they were going to wait. And, they were able to, get that gentleman picked at the end of the 7th round. And the team who was going to wait, obviously lost out. And they were direct. They told them, like, hey, he's about to get picked. And they still were going to wait. So, at the end of the day, that's basically the most really we can do. We can't really be like, hey, grab this guy now.
Yeah.
But if when the time for that guy comes and you got multiple teams, then you could have some leverage to possibly play with. And like I said, our veteran agents, have been around and have 30, 40 plus years of experience, have done a good job of helping everybody out and helping get guys into the right positions to have good opportunities.
That's pretty cool. So I got to ask, I know the answer is probably no, but I will. It's one of those things I'm going to ask it anyway. You said you'd work with MLB. You're part of that sphere, if you will. Have you heard anything regarding the lockout? Again, you might have clients that maybe they've just given you just a little tidbit of information. Is there anything you're hearing at all? Because from what I've heard, it's quiet. So I
honestly, with the holiday, it kind of feels like a government holiday right now. It's been 2 weeks of quietness in terms of the lockout stuff. We're kind of hopeful that, maybe it wraps up in February, but that's nothing we've heard directly.
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely a little worrisome that it's been kind of quiet, even though it's been the holiday. There doesn't seem to have been a lot of movement lately. But again, I think, when you look at, you just lost a lot of time with COVID and a year without fans. I think they're going to kind of feel that as we get closer to what should be, camp opening and spring training and things like that. So I think they're going to get something done, but I think everybody's going to do a little posturing for another couple of weeks.
It's not what I wanted to hear, but admittedly, that's what I was expecting you were going to say, and I understand. But like I said, I had to ask. I was like, well, maybe he knows something that the rest of us don't. I don't know.
No, I wish I did.
No, it was one of those things. I felt like it was really inevitable. Everybody knew it was going to happen, and yet everybody just stood there and said, no, it'll be fine. And then it happened, and they're like, whoa, this happened. And it's like, well, yeah, it was going to happen if you didn't do anything.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things, in play that are tenuous right now. And there's, discussions of how you get, the minor league guys to the table, because right now they're not part of that.
Right.
So, there's some big sticking points that have to be hammered out. But again, I think they're going to look at the financial side of you can't lose a second season in 3 years, at least from, a ticket standpoint.
Absolutely.
All right, Sean, I'm going to give you the hard question now.
Go ahead.
All right, so Sunday, while I was at the Bears-Giants game, the craziest thing I've ever seen happen in NFL football happened in New Jersey. Antonio Brown left the field, threw his shoulder pads. You're an agent. You're his agent, right, in this situation, hypothetically. What do you do beforehand with his previous thing to keep him on the level? And after this, what do you do to salvage his career? Because you're working behind the scenes in that situation.
Right.
What's your responsibility?
Yeah, I mean, so our responsibility, obviously, first and foremost, would be, not to get necessarily both sides of the story, but understand what happened just from Antonio's side, I guess, before you start getting the other information. Because, obviously, fans see one thing on TV, but when you start talking to coaches and players that were close by and you hear different things, and you can kind of piece together what actually happened versus what ESPN may be showing. But definitely it's a tough position for anyone to be in, agent or player, because it is quite a scene. And when you have some superstars on the sideline kind of asking you not to do that, I think it makes it a little more difficult from everybody's standpoint. But I think, from an agent perspective, you always want to protect the client. So the first step would be, figuring out what we could do to protect them. And then from there, kind of figuring out what's going to happen. Like right now, I guess everybody's kind of sitting around wondering if he's going to be waived or not. I don't know, what Tampa is doing there. But I think, there's rules where they could, it could have been conduct detrimental to the team.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So there's rules in place where Tampa has protections. And I'm sure, in his contract, there's protections for him as well.
It's an interesting situation for sure.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's probably why he hasn't been released yet, is that they're, ultimately working out the details of what happened on the sideline, and whether, like you said, whether it's conduct detrimental to the team or not. And if it is, they have to find a way to prove that, because he's obviously going to have his side of the story. And then much like when he was with the Patriots, he played one game and then he still wanted his check and they didn't want to pay him. And so it becomes ugly.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's an odd situation, and you feel bad if he's going through anything, obviously. So you just don't know, and you don't know what led up to that whole thing, Thursday through Saturday, so it didn't just happen during the second quarter on Sunday. That's for sure. There were steps that led up to it.
Oh, absolutely.
And the thing that bothers me with the whole situation is he was a ticking time bomb. There's a lot of stuff behind the scenes. And obviously, I don't know what his agent's doing, what his agent's not doing. I'm sure, they're working as hard as they can, because that's how they make their money. And they don't want to see their clients look bad, because it affects them getting the next client. But, I wonder what was done to kind of alleviate the issue.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where, even if he reached it, it may have been one of those things that was just inevitable based on whatever was going on in the locker room. There's some things even an agent can't get around.
I mean, I want to have a full conversation about this, but I'll start by saying this, and I don't say this to be disrespectful to him. I mean this legitimately, because I think there's something wrong with him. And I don't mean that like to be rude and say, yeah, there's something wrong with this guy. I think it's really just, And we started talking about this in our chat the other day. I don't think anybody has really explored that.
Well, you can't. Nobody knows how to explore CTE until the person is unfortunately passed. That hasn't been a thing yet.
I guess
right?
I don't think he's been evaluated enough in terms of his mental state.
Right.
And I think there's other things you could check for, because I remember him, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, probably, before all of this happened.
It was it was the Vontaze Burfict.
I don't remember how many years ago that was, but I'm saying 5-6 years ago, he was not like this. I understand he may have been. My thing is, the conclusion I've kind of come to, and you guys are more than welcome to chime in. I think Antonio has definitely been a diva to some extent his whole career, and that's okay. Like, and just
It's
some
typically
players,
a wide receiver thing,
and that
usually,
happens. Like, and that
yeah.
doesn't make him a bad person. It doesn't mean he's any less of a person. Nothing like that. But I think what happened was the Burfict hit on top of all the other injuries he's probably sustained through his career. It kind of it knocked a screw loose that kind of exacerbated that quality in him and has made it so much worse. And now he's just unhinged, and it's like nobody can stop him because even he doesn't. Like, he can't stop himself because
It's
he
like a
doesn't
lot
want to
of
be
these.
this way.
It's like
And
for
I
a
feel
lot of
bad for
these
him.
other guys. I mean, Sayao and Aaron Hernandez and all these guys.
Absolutely.
These tragedies, and what ended in tragedies, like those situations that you just kind of see. You see the red flags after they played football for so long. You see that the hits have piled up, and
I'm sure
they are not themselves.
No,
that's what you see
And
eventually.
I don't like the way I say things. I don't want to harp on it and make light, or rather make him look bad, because while he's done things that are questionable, the biggest thing I've taken away from all of this is I don't know that he is in control. And what I mean by that, like the way he normally would have thought without the potential CTE and what other issues he might be facing, I don't think he would have acted out the way he's acting. I think this is a result of a lot of issues. And so for a lot of people, they're like, oh, what is wrong with him? He's so weird. He's crazy. I'm just like, I feel bad for the poor guy because this is not normal behavior that he would have, he would not have exhibited such behaviors normally, I don't think.
I don't know. I mean, I had the opportunity to speak with him during the Super Bowl last year.
I remember.
And I tried to trip him up. I mean, not that I'm the greatest at asking questions, but
he's
I
a smart guy.
Yeah.
He's intelligent. He knows how to keep his cool. He's a professional, but at the same time, I think there's something that just may be a little off. And I don't know if it's a clinical or, his personality. I don't know. I haven't been around him that much to say that. I feel bad. There's so much talent there, and, financially he's throwing away money and all the talent he has. It's a shame to see him suffering that way.
It's rough.
I mean, he's a joke right now, and it's a shame because he shouldn't be,
Yeah, no, I agree. My only other question is, do you think he's getting another shot? I mean, this is what his fourth try now. I mean, I understand he's talented, but does anybody see him getting another shot? Or do you think teams will be like, we can't handle this. Like, we can't take this risk anymore?
I mean, it's tough at this point. There's a lot piled up just in the last 16 months.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, I would say if someone is able to, if he's able to show that he turns things around in the offseason, like I think as always that that there's always going to be maybe possibly another opportunity out there for him. And basically, based on what the Bucs are saying, it doesn't sound like Arians is too upset. He almost understands some of it, but obviously didn't want the explosion on the sideline.
Yeah, and I mean the way I see it is I don't know, like if you have two chances with a guy like Tom Brady who's vouched for you both times and he's let you live with him and things of that nature, he's going to bat for you that much, and both times you've kind of thrown that away. I think that's hard in the NFL for other teams to be like, wow, if he can't get along with a team led by Tom Brady after Tom Brady's vouched for him,
right?
Who's going to take that chance? The only other team, there's only maybe the Cowboys, because Jerry Jones is always willing to take those.
Aldon Smith.
Yeah, like Aldon Smiths and Greg Hardy's, like those guys. He's always willing to take a chance on those troubled guys. That's the only team I could see.
Yeah, I mean, and like Aldon Smith, he came back, turned around after a couple of years, and then unfortunately, something else went on, I think, on the field. But I mean, when he first came back, he had turned things around. So it's not impossible, but it's up, they have to be able to want the help too.
Yeah,
obviously.
That's the thing I'm worried about.
Much
is I
like
don't know
any
that he
addict,
wants that help.
Unless they want the help, they're not going to get the help.
Yeah, it's definitely not a talent thing with him. It's either it's personality or clinical, and until they figure that out, if it's clinical, figure out what can be done to stop it, and if it's personality, then it's all on him.
If you remember, I think he was asked last year. I think it was last year. Somebody asked him, do you think there's anything wrong with you in an interview? And he said, no, there's nothing wrung with me. So he doesn't feel that there's anything wrong with him, and he's entitled to feel that way.
Most people with mental illness will not think there's something wrong with them. So
that's my point. That's my point.
You know,
is if he doesn't feel anything's wrong with him, he's never going to get the help that he needs until he realizes potentially that there's something wrong. I don't, like you said, JB, we don't know him. We can't necessarily say that there is because we don't know this guy. But the red flags make it seem like there's definitely something, much like Aaron Hernandez and Junior Seau and all those guys.
I mean,
seems like there's that same pattern forming.
Yeah, I mean, I say all these things. I don't know if there's anything wrong with him. There might be nothing wrong, and I'm just seeing a guy that's acting out the way he's acting out. And if that's the case, that's the case. And then I'm just wrong. But I've watched enough football. I've seen divas on my own team. I've seen OBJ, who was clearly a diva, but I don't think he was ever this bad.
No, I don't think he was ever
but he never
danger
got
to
this
himself,
bad.
right?
And that's why I say what I say. Because I've seen what a diva looks like on my own team and paid close attention to a situation. I don't think I've ever seen anything this drawn out, and I don't want to say ridiculous. I think big is a good way to describe it. You know, the issue is very large. The way it's handled, the way it explodes, it's concerning. But I don't think I've ever seen anything else like it. I've seen divas before, but not like this.
I think that's the word, though. That's the key word, is concerning. Because we saw what happened with Josh Gordon. When Josh Gordon was on the Browns and he went through everything he went through, what did the NFL do? Nothing. They let him fall through the cracks. Nobody reached a hand out and said, hey, Josh Gordon, like, let us help you. We want to help you because clearly something's wrong. We want to help you with whatever you got going on. Nobody helped the guy, and he fell through the cracks, and he just kept falling into trouble.
It's unfortunate.
And that's what at least us, we don't want to see that happen to Antonio Brown. We don't want to see him get into more trouble, and that's why it's concerning for people that actually care about players outside of what you just do on the football field. Like,
absolutely.
That's what we do here is we talk about it in the chats all the time. We care about the players more than just what stats you can produce. Like, these people are humans. Like, they have lives outside of the game, and that matters too.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, it's forgotten a lot of times. People don't seem to realize, they're people.
They forget that they're
people. What can you do for me in fantasy football? Basically, that's what it is, right?
A lot of fans.
Or DraftKings or FanDuel or whatever.
Right.
Score, no score.
Score, no score. Sure.
There you go.
You remembered.
Now he remembers.
Well, I mean, we don't talk about those other places. We talk about score, no score.
This is true.
All right, John. So the $1 million question. Let's get right to it.
Sean, if you want to hold on before Sean, you are welcome to stay for this. By all means, you are welcome to stay.
We'll hang out with you guys a little bit.
But if at any point you want to go, I'm saying this, so you see it, all the fans see, anybody that watches this or knows, they know Sean has an out at any time. And we're not holding him hostage.
There's no safe word.
Signing the liability waiver right now.
This is gonna be heated, and this is gonna be very strange for sure. And for JB and myself, we find it strange, but we're somewhat used to it because we have to deal with John. We work with him. We know what he's like. You, who have not really worked with John before, you've never seen how weird he can. He'll say some stuff that makes you say, what? And this is going to be one of those moments where everybody's going to go, did he just say what I think he said? So I'm warning you now.
You're good.
Give me one second. I'm just typing up a banner for this.
Oh, God. Right.
So Eric has a video somewhere in our little banners on the side, or little brand on the side, where it says viewer discretion advised.
I'll see if I can find that.
It's your own discretion. If you watch,
I like this one much better.
John's opinion is his own and does not reflect the views or opinions of Sideline Sports Network LLC.
That is correct. And John, one more thing, because I did find it for Eric. I think he still has it. Hold on.
Yeah, he has it. I just don't know where it's at.
I don't see it. All right, never mind. Well, the point is, viewer discretion is advised because this is about to be very concerning. I'm scared.
All right. So we all know that John Elway has won some Super Bowls, right? With the Denver Broncos, with great running games, great receivers, great offensive lines, great defenses, great coaches. He's had the works in his career. He's won a couple Super Bowls, right? Now, I dug into John Elway's stats last week, and everybody says this guy's a Hall of Famer because he has 300 touchdowns. However, I looked into his stats and dug deeper. This guy has 3 seasons from 1983 to 1998, 3 seasons where he broke 60% completion percentage. That's it. 3 seasons. Career 56.9 completion percentage. For his career from 1983 to 1998, that's not even 57%. That's not even 57%. That's not good. He has 300 touchdowns, 226 picks, and he has 0 seasons of 30 or more touchdowns. Now, let me repeat that. 0 seasons. Patrick Mahomes did that in 1 year.
So
All right.
before
we go
never done
ahead,
that.
I think this needs to be said, John.
Never done that in
Patrick
his entire
Mahomes,
career.
Patrick Mahomes and John Elway is a very unfair comparison. And
No,
I'm saying that because Patrick Mahomes is not only a very different player, the style of offense is definitely more
Completely
pass
different.
heavy now. So I'm not saying what you're saying is invalid. I'm just saying keep that in mind when you compare the two, because you're talking about 2 different styles of offense in terms of the time period that they're being played in.
Right. I understand the context. I know
I
how
just want to make that
works.
clear.
I know the eras are different, so I understand that today's passing league is a lot different than back then. However, Patrick Mahomes, it took
I think
him
we'll just
1
keep
year.
this up for now.
It took him 1 year to have more 30 touchdown seasons.
Okay.
No.
Well,
Compare
let's let
John
him.
Elway to the other quarterbacks of the era.
But how does John Elway have 0 30 touchdown seasons? 0. And he has a 56.9 completion percentage, 226 interceptions, and 300 touchdowns. How is that possible? And you have
Bring up Jake.
and you
Bring
have
up Marino
one 4,000-yard season. That's it. One.
What am I bringing up, JB?
Bring up Marino.
I had a feeling that was coming, so I was getting
This
prepared.
is about John Elway.
But no. You got to compare him to a likable.
I mean, they are guys that played at exactly the same time.
Same era.
Elway played from 83 to 98, and Marino played
till 99.
Yeah, but starting in 83.
Yeah,
so
83.
The stats are like it's
pretty
comparable. It's
Yeah.
fair to compare in terms of the period they played in and all that.
Yeah.
So JB, ask what you want, and I will find the.
And he
stats.
completed 47.5% his first season.
I'm going to answer
In
whatever
11
JB
games.
has in terms of questions.
So how many over 30 touchdowns did Marino have? And Marino, I think, passed a lot more.
4 seasons.
What was his high?
48. He had a lot of
48. He
touchdowns.
set the record until
Yeah, that was a phenomenal.
That was a
Peyton
very big.
or Brady broke it. One of those two a couple years
Okay,
back.
what was his completion percentage?
59.4. Elway's, I don't know if John mentioned-
56.9.
Yeah.
56.9.
So
yeah.
very close.
At least
in all
Marino's
seriousness,
higher. Yeah.
They are close though.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah,
Yep.
they were also, just chime in a little bit. They were playing in an era where the defense was allowed to touch you a little bit.
Yeah.
exactly.
They were allowed to rough up the wide receiver at the line. They were allowed to do a little bit more things than they can do now.
You could hit a quarterback back then.
This
Now
is true.
you can't even look at a quarterback.
You can't even
You look at them funny and you get penalized. All right, JB, what other questions do you have? I'll give you, I'll rattle off stats. I have them all in front of me. I can find them.
All right.
Yeah, so he wanted
You said he had 56.9 completion percentage?
That was John Elway.
his career,
Okay.
yeah.
And
And
what was
one
Marino?
season of 4,000 yards.
And Marino was 59.4.
Okay, so still under 60%. How many Super Bowls did Marino have compared to
he
Elway?
went to one. Went to
No,
one.
how many did he win?
He didn't win any.
How many did Elway go to?
He
2.
Elway
He
went
won
to
2.
1-2, lost one, I believe. Didn't he lose one to
I have
the?
to check on that. Give me 1 second.
He lost
Thought he lost
2,
one.
if I'm correct. Didn't
Maybe he
lose
went to
the-
just 2
He lost to the Giants and he lost to the Redskins, if I'm correct.
Playoffs.
because he
Correct.
won back to back to finish his career
Let's
to
see.
ride off into the sunset.
I think
He won
lost
back to back.
Doug
You're
Williams.
correct about that.
He lost to Doug
Uh,
Williams and he lost to Phil Simms.
I think he
You would
lost.
know. You're a Giants fan, and you were alive.
Yeah, 86, the Giants beat him.
Some of us aren't that
Yeah.
old.
That sounds, yeah.
and then the following year they went back to back, and they lost to Washington, if I'm correct.
Here, let me look real quick. I have to look up something else.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was Doug Williams' year.
Yeah, Doug Williams.
Super Bowl appearances, I can tell you by year. They have 8 Super Bowl appearances, 86 and 87, and then actually 86, 87, 89, 97, 98.
89 was who?
Still him.
Dallas?
That would have been Elway.
No, who they play that year? Dallas?
Oh, I'd have to look that up. Give me one sec.
Trying to remember.
So you're saying how many did he go to?
5.
5.
Five.
So
If I
he's
say it
2 and
correctly.
5, 2 and 3.
86,
2 and 3?
87, 89, 97, 98.
Okay.
So I'll pull up each team. But continue talking while I look through all this stuff. I have to
So
find everything.
okay. So what your reason is the passing yards and his completion percentage.
Right. The fact that he only has one 4,000-yard season, 0 30 touchdown seasons. He had a season where he had 7 touchdowns his rookie year, 18 touchdowns, 19 touchdowns, 19, 17, 18, 15, 13, 10, a 16, and then he had a couple 20 plus touchdown seasons. That's
All
a
right,
lot of
so-
seasons under 20 touchdowns.
John, really
for a
quickly,
quarterback.
not to interrupt you.
Yeah.
In 89, they lost to the 49ers in the Super Bowl.
49ers. Okay.
Much like Mourinho lost to the
In
49ers.
87, they lost to Washington,
Yeah. Doug
The Doug
Williams.
which
Williams
you were
mentioned.
correct about. And 86, I don't have to look up. I know that's the Giants. I know for a fact.
Yeah, it was Phil Simms.
As a Giants fan, I know that. That much I do know. So those are the other Super Bowls that he appeared in, but didn't win, but were in. So
But they
he
also
went
had
2
a
and 3.
balanced offense.
No, they had an
You know,
amazing team. At least when he won his back-to-back Super Bowls, their team was really – they had a lot of Hall of Famers on that team. It was really stacked,
Yeah.
that team. At least
Yeah.
I don't remember the 80s teams because I wasn't alive, but I know the back-to-back Super Bowls that they won. I mean, they had Terrell Davis,
So-
Ed McCaffrey.
My question is he homeless shelter material or just not Hall of Fame material? You know.
I think he's just not Hall of Fame material. I
Okay,
think
so he's not in the
only
Albert
So
I
he's
think
not
only
in the homeless
Albert
shelter with Albert
Pujols-
Pujols.
I think only Albert Pujols lives in the homeless shelter.
Which
Just
is
for
still
context,
offensive.
Sean. Albert Pujols, this guy robbed the Angels. I mean, this guy robbed baseball. He was so great on the Cardinals. Goes to the Angels. He is an absolute disaster. Waste of a contract. Waste of Mike Trout's great career having him there, holding him back. This guy, I put him in the homeless shelter because this guy has no business stealing all this money, this time. But we had Mike Trout in his prime, and Mike Trout, there's only so many years of this guy. And Albert Pujols is just stealing the opportunity for Mike Trout to get to the playoffs and to a World Series. This is one of the best players of all time, and I blame Albert Pujols for pulling him down because they could have spent all that money elsewhere. These Angels, I'm not an Angels fan, so there's no dog in the fight.
The Trout fan, the Angels fan, which one is it?
I'm not an Angels fan. I'm not a Pujols, not a Trout fan. I'm an Orioles fan. So I've had my pain and suffering my entire life. But he's ruined Mike Trout's opportunity to show us what he can do in the playoffs. And I blame Pujols for that. You look at his stats on the Angels, nothing close to the Cardinals. And it doesn't make sense. And I know I'm going off a rant, but it doesn't make sense because if you have no DH opportunities in the NL, how are you better in the NL than when you have DH opportunities in the AL and you don't even have to play the field and you're a worse batter? How's that possible? How are you a worse player if you get an opportunity to take the defensive part out of the game sometimes just so you can rest and focus on your batting? How is that possible? This guy's a fraud. He's the worst 600 home run hitter in the history of baseball. Fraudulent. I don't believe in this guy, and he belongs in the homeless shelter. That's my thing. John Elway doesn't belong in the homeless shelter, but I'm pulling him out of the Hall of Fame right now. Laying down the law. There's a couple other guys I'm coming for him, but today's not the day. John Elway's just my focus today.
There's more? I can't.
There's
handle this.
more. Oh, yeah. I think Fran Tarkenton might be one of them.
Oh, this is
him out
ridiculous.
eventually. There's a bunch of others I'm just going to pull out, but
You're
that's
0
for another
2.
day down the road.
You are 0 for 2 on this pulling out of the Hall of Fame and homeless shelter argument. If the Angels gave Pujols the contract, it's on them.
Yeah, but you robbed Mike Trout and you robbed baseball fans.
So you know who you
Didn't
should be
see
mad
him
at?
in the
Hold on, but you know
playoffs.
who you should be mad at? Angels ownership, not.
That's the owners make
I
bad
blame
decisions.
Pujols. Why didn't he
like,
just
you know,
stay with the
like
Stay
anybody
with the
else.
Cardinals. Stay over there on that
Because
side
he
of the
could get
fence.
money, John. If
You
you
know
can
what?
get paid
Maybe he's
handsomely,
just not good enough to handle AL
if
pitching,
you can get,
which is a
hold
lot
on.
tougher than the NL pitching.
John,
Maybe
if
he's
you
just
can
not
get
good
paid
enough.
handsomely somewhere else, I would, if in his case, and play baseball still, I would do it.
John, two places. So we have our show on DBNA, right?
For sure.
Okay, we love being there.
Oh, sure.
Next week, this new network comes at us and says, "We're going to give you $5 million to air our show."
I'm a loyal person to DBNA.
You know,
Well, let's say we talk to David and he says,
David wants us to make money. He's happy
please
with
go
that.
ahead. Just, don't
I'm a
forget
loyal
about us.
person, so I wouldn't be able to go through with it because loyalty is number one to me, above money. I care about the team and the loyalty.
I got to be honest, John.
And I'm loyal to David.
I got to be honest with you.
DBNA.
I think if we could stay with David, that would be, the best in that scenario. If that was not possible,
Why wouldn't it be possible?
I'm not saying it would, but I'm just saying, in this scenario, it's not. David has been great to us. John, for $500 million, I would willingly kick you off the show and pick up a random person off the street to replace you because that kind of money would be unbelievable.
See, that lacks loyalty right there. That tells me that you lack loyalty.
No, that means I want.
At some point, everybody has a price.
John, for $500 million, I could never work a day in my life. Are you kidding me? I'd love that.
That's true.
I would
everybody
never
has
have
a
to do
price.
that.
I don't. I'm
John,
not.
I would willingly pay you off at that point. I would pay you off at that point.
I can't be bought.
No,
I can't be
just
bought.
said everyone has a price.
Everybody except me.
Everyone has a price, John. That means you have a
clearly
price.
I'm not like
not
everybody else.
That is true.
That's very true.
Me and Antonio Brown and I should hang out because
you guys would be best friends.
Or be best friends.
Wow.
You guys would be best friends, that's for sure.
So, John Elway, you've officially been removed from the
All
Hall
right.
of Fame. Sorry
JB,
about your luck, but you don't
JB,
belong.
would you like to comment on this John Elway stuff? Or
I bet Cam Newton probably has a better completion percentage than John Elway.
I think
I don't know if I would compare completion percentage, and you look at Burrito's completion percentage is kind of the same.
Just about 60%.
It's about, but it's not
60.
far off.
It's pretty good.
And by the way, you're wrong about Cam Newton. I believe.
Is he that bad?
What was Phil Simms?
I know Cam Newton's is 59.9.
Oh, don't even get me started on Phil Simms because Phil Simms has some brutal stats.
He's not a Hall of Famer, no question about that. But
I haven't even touched that yet, but I should write a book. Write a book.
Yes. Wow.
Because people will read that book.
They might. You never know.
Phil Simms' completion percentage was 55.4.
Okay.
And I did the wrong segment.
That's because
the wrong person.
To be fair, he missed all of 1982. He didn't play at all. He was injured.
Who else did I already want to compare?
He played 4 games in 91, 4 games in 92.
Look, you only get one. You only get one out of me.
2
a
games
show.
in 83.
You only get one out of me a show. I gave you bonus coverage of Albert Pujols. You get more at a later date when you watch another Sideline Sports episode down the road. You never know whenever I'm going to pull somebody else from the Hall of Fame. That's why you got to watch every week because you never know what I'm going to do next. I have no idea. It just kind of comes to me.
Wow.
No idea. I just figure it out as I go.
It's scary, guys. Once again, just please read the screen for a moment. Thank you.
I'm trying to find something.
And opinions
at the
don't
moment.
represent the Sideline Sports Network necessarily.
All right, so John, I want to talk about this because it's actually important.
Sure.
You complained about his completion percentage being lower than what you'd like, right?
Yes.
That's what you said. His completion
and
percentage
0-30 touchdown seasons. I don't care for that.
I'm going at one thing at a time because I can only pull up so many stats at once because I can't read as much as I'd like to at once. But here's what I wanted. What I found. What's that supposed to mean?
Wow.
What is that supposed to mean, huh?
Wow, that was uncalled for.
Uncalled for, absolutely. All right, so I'm going to exclude 1983 because he only started in one game. So
Who are we talking about?
Excuse me, 10 games. Excuse me.
10 games.
Never mind. I had my cursor over the 0, so I only saw number 1. This is all for Dan Marino. Not Dan Marino, John Elway.
By the way, Sean, we did give you pre-warning.
Oh, you're
I'm
good.
not sure. I don't know what you're thinking. I'm trying to read your body language, but
No. So we just judging this on 4,000 yards and no 30 touchdown seasons.
Exactly, and so I'm going to get in. So I got plenty to say.
I think Eli Manning has better stats than that. And he's not a Hall of Famer.
There was a quarterback that wore number 16, never threw for 4,000 yards, only had 1 30 touchdown season.
Joe Montana
had a lot of rings.
A lot of rings, yes.
There you go.
I can't knock a guy that's won what? 4 Super Bowls? What, 4-0?
Oh, yeah,
never threw an interception.
Saying, if you were looking just based on the stats side by side, based on what you're saying, these same type of stats is what Elway put
rings, up. No interceptions in the Super Bowl. Only quarterback to ever throw 0 interceptions. Played 2 or more Super Bowls. But he did have Jerry Rice. He had all those great players.
Regular season wise, though, they're other than the completion percentage, which is 63.
Look, Sean,
regular season wise, they're about the same.
Don't give me ideas.
All right, so John,
don't give me ideas.
John, let me enlighten you, buddy. Let me enlighten you. So 1983 was a bad year for John Elway, but granted, I think that was probably his rookie season. But I have to count it because he played 10 games.
Stats are stats.
No, 10 games is 10 games. That's enough games.
It's over half
count.
a season, yeah.
So that's fine. So he had a 47.5 completion percentage, which was a bad year. But he was a rookie, so I'd like to, to be fair, let's keep that in mind. That definitely.
We all understand the context. Yeah.
The average completion percentage for that year, I pulled them up by year, was 56.9. So definitely, John Elway was definitely not good enough that year. Fine. The next year was 56.3 in 1984. That was Elway's completion percentage. The average completion percentage was 56.4. So John Elway was on par with the average completion percentage for a quarterback of the time. Now, I know you're probably going to say, well, he should be above average. What I'm just pointing out is you want to make fun of his completion percentage, and I will continue to go year by year. I have more years.
Yeah.
But he may not have had a high completion percentage for what you want, but for what was normal for the time so far in that season specifically, it is actually normal. So I just want to preface that and point that out. And I will continue to go through seasons.
He had 10 seasons under 20 touchdowns, just so you know. 10 seasons under 20. That's rough.
I mean, that happens.
That's rough.
I don't know.
You expect a great quarterback to have a good
20 more break 20 touchdowns? Yeah.
I don't know. He got the 5 Super Bowls.
I mean, no, just like you have a bad season. It happens, dude.
No, that's 10 times he did it. 10.
I don't think that's
And he got to 5 Super Bowls. I don't know.
83, 84, 86, 87, 88, 89.
You said 10
90,
touchdowns.
91, 20 touchdowns or less. He had 20
you said,
touchdowns. No,
you said
20.
10, not 20. You
20.
initially said
20.
10. You said
20
10.
touchdowns or less.
But
I heard 10.
Different. How many guys threw for 20 touchdowns a year back then, John?
I don't know.
Tell me all the quarterbacks.
I don't know. I don't have all the stats in front of me of every single quarterback.
Jake, pull up 1986 touchdown passing leaders. How many had over 20?
Yeah, I'll try and find that real quick.
I'm just picking 86 at random.
I could find the touchdown leader by year.
Yeah, 86.
Yeah, that's what he's asking.
The touchdown leader by the year?
Yeah, it should have the standings for top whatever.
Yeah, I gotta find that. Hold on.
No worries.
1986. That was John Elway. Excuse me, not John Elway. Dan Marino with 44.
Thank you.
Who was past that?
That I have to
you,
find.
Sir, are in contempt. JB Ellis, you're in contempt. You're out of order.
No, you're just insane, John, tonight.
Thank you.
1986 passing leaders. Let's see. Okay. Passing leaders for 1986. Dan Marino had 44. The next highest quarterback had 25.
Okay.
So I think that kind of proves your point that touchdown passes were not that high back then. Yeah. The average touchdown I'm seeing is like mid-20s at best for like the rest of the quarterbacks that are not named Dan Marino.
That's
So
not good.
1987, there were only 8 quarterbacks that had over 20 touchdowns.
That doesn't make that good.
Neil
John-
Lomax had 24 touchdowns. He was a Hall of Famer, I guess, right?
John, in 1989, no quarterback threw for more than 30 touchdowns.
Oof, that's not good.
87,
But
the only one that
you're
had
missing the
more
point.
Yeah.
The point is that touchdowns were not
wasn't the same
in
game.
surplus like the way they are now.
Yeah. It's like runs in baseball right now.
Right.
It just didn't used to happen that way.
But
Right.
if you're going to compare them to all-time greats, and I understand the context and the eras, I understand that because I've watched football my whole life. I've studied it my whole life. It's still, when you look at the numbers, when a guy has 10 seasons under 20 touchdowns, that's
Right, but
not good.
it's-
How can you compare that guy?
I can tell you how you compare it, because if you compare it to the times themselves, it makes it acceptable. It makes it understandable. It makes it say,
don't
okay,
see
this
how
kind of
that's
makes sense.
okay.
So, okay, going back to 1987, because I pulled that up. Over 3,000 quarterbacks, there's only 6. Elway was 4th on the list with 3198. The highest of the year was Neil Lomax. Again, my new Hall of Famer. I want to get him in. 3387. Why is Elway a Hall of Famer? He did it for a long term, consistent with what was in his era in the top half of the top 5% of the quarterbacks. That's why he's a Hall of Famer.
So
He got
you
the
can
5
look at
Super
those
Bowls.
stats that I'm telling you, and you could justify them.
Yeah.
You could justify the completion percentage. You can justify the low number of touchdowns. You could justify all that. The low
I
number
can
of
because
yards.
of the era he was playing in.
I mean, but
John,
Dan Marino. But then how is Dan Marino just pumping out yards and touchdowns?
Dan Marino was a very special quarterback. That
Dan Marino-
I think I've said this before, that if he played in this era, he would be
Yeah.
on par with a guy like Patrick Mahomes.
No
I think-
doubt.
And I mean that because he was so talented. It was the era he played in. It's just defense reigned supreme.
I
So
don't know.
throwing 30-plus touchdowns was more – that was impressive. That's like
Hang on
throwing
one second.
40, 50 touchdowns these years.
I love Dan Marino, but you can't. I have to say Mahomes would be better because Mahomes.
No, I don't
got
mean
2
they-
Super Bowls.
I don't mean it
And
like
he won
that.
one.
I don't mean it like that. I mean that in terms of his offensive production, he'd be on
Right.
that par,
I get
where
what you're
he,
saying.
he could
Yeah.
pump out those kinds of numbers because he was that special. But it's also because offenses that's the kind of that's the kind of things we see today. Is offense reigns supreme, defense is not nearly as impressive.
And also the defensive coverage was different back then. You were able
Absolutely.
to hit. Think about Ronnie Lott. Were you going to go catch a pass over that secondary?
Oh, Ronnie Lott would have killed you.
Exactly.
Exactly. Think
It's-
about that now.
I think also the fact that players were more physical back then.
Well, you're allowed to be physical back
Right,
then.
that's what I'm
Today, You're not
saying.
allowed to
So
hit
that
somebody
made-
in the
so-
midsection.
Let me see if I can find this. How many drops John Elway's players had for him? Because he gets it's counted as an incompletion if the player doesn't catch it, even if it's a
Right.
drop. I'm curious how many drops his receivers had for him throughout his career.
I
because
don't even know if there's able to. Is there
Yeah,
a
I
way
don't
to
know.
figure that
I'm curious.
That's a stat that we'd have to look. But
I
I'm
have
looking
no
for it.
idea.
you're talking about something that's just really obscure. You're taking
That's out of
stats-
your control.
Right, well, that's
would
what
be
I'm
like-
saying. I'm saying
No,
that
that would-
because I don't know how many drops his receivers had in those seasons. And if his players had a lot of drops, then that also affects his completion percentage, which makes it a little bit harder to judge.
Exactly, Matt.
That's also true. He's got a very
I
good
mean-
point. You could basically murder somebody back then and be like, it's okay. I mean,
Especially in the
I mean,
in the
John,
70s.
John, you had guys like Lawrence Taylor, who, as a Giants fan, I love that guy. He's admitted to doing cocaine actively, like while playing games. I mean, and I'm
I don't
I'm
know
not
how
saying
much
that.
that affects you playing the game. I have no idea.
I don't
So I'm
know,
not
but
sure
what I'm
how
saying
relevant
is
that
the
is.
game was so different back then. You had guys literally on drugs during games.
I'm sure
mean-
that probably still happens somewhere in.
Yeah, but you see what
leagues,
you understand what I'm
sure.
saying? Like,
Yeah,
it's
I
so
get what you're saying.
different back then. It's hard to judge. And
Well,
for the
like I
times-
said, I understand the context. I know exactly what you're going to say, and I know what you're
and
talking
for the times,
about.
the other thing with the completion percentage, the completion percentage hovered around 55 to
I still don't
at highest
like that.
58.
I don't
John
like
Elway
that.
was
You don't
completion
have to like it,
percentage-wise
Joe.
on par.
It's
But-
like if you took baseball and looked at home runs. Right now, everybody hits home runs. Look at strikeouts. There are guys that strike out more in 1 year now than guys in their career, than Tony Gwynn.
Oh yeah, I know that, and I don't like that. I don't care for that.
This is funny. I like this, Matt. I know it's not true, but I like the idea of John apparently on drugs to do fantasy football drafts.
I'm the cleanest person you've ever met, so you don't have to worry about that.
Again, I know you wouldn't do it, but I like the idea. It's very funny.
Look, if I take them to do fantasy drafts, then I better not take them to do fantasy drafts so I can actually win a fantasy football championship.
Well, you didn't win any this year, so
Well, I know, but I knocked you out. You're 14-0, so let's just make sure that's out
fine.
there.
But you still lost in the championship, so what does it matter?
You don't get an undefeated season because of me.
I don't care.
Wow.
I wouldn't have won this week anyway. I know that. But I got my revenge at the end of the day. You still lost.
Hey, I took you out.
I wouldn't have won this week. I know I wouldn't have. I admit it. I knew my team was not the best team in the league. I was 14-0 based on a little bit of luck. And I knew that. I knew Nick had the best team the entire season, and I will openly say that. I knew he was better than me, and I knew I had I was scared of Nick the entire season.
Look, as long as I could stop your reign so I don't got to hear that you're undefeated.
John,
and
I
got
still
to
went
end
undefeated
it.
in the regular season.
I got to end it. I'm fine with that.
Wow. You're
This
killing
is
me, John.
This might be my new favorite comment. This is great. He's also a Hall of Famer, but according to John, he's not.
And he's not a Hall of Famer.
Well,
His name
Debatable.
will make him a Hall of Famer, but he's not a Hall of Famer.
is that why John Elway is in the Hall of Fame? Because of his name?
He shouldn't be.
I mean, John, also the fact that he's got, in his career, John Elway, 1, 2, 3, 4,
Oh.
5, 6, 7,
Sean, I just
8.
want to thank you. Hang on 1 second.
Yeah, you're good.
Sean, I want to thank you for stopping in tonight. You
It's
just wanna
like,
tell
check
everyone a little
last time I'm on here.
bit- You want to let
I
everyone
wouldn't
know
blame
a
him.
little bit before you go about the agency?
I appreciate the time, and like I said, we're NFL draft, getting everybody's announcements ready. I know Joe follows us a little bit. We just announced Chase Garber and Jermaine Waller this week. We've got some more coming down this week as the week goes on and as these guys check in. But other than the baseball and the football, we're just excited to be moving forward and see the momentum and see where we're going to grow. But I just want to thank you guys for the platform tonight, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We
Definitely. Thank
appreciate
you
you
for
coming
Happy to
on.
stopping
have
in,
you.
Sean.
We appreciate you dealing with what John has to say. because
Yeah,
he's something else.
yeah. I don't know about the argument, but I'm gonna let you guys figure this one out.
All right, Sean. Have a great one. And
I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, have a
Thanks.
good one.
No
All
worries.
right, see you, Sean.
Bye-bye.
All right. So, John, what I was going to say is John Elway had 9 seasons where he was selected to a Pro Bowl, which implies that in 9 seasons, he was one of the best quarterbacks in his game.
I take Pro Bowls with a grain of salt.
I
Pro Bowl
understand that,
selections because
But he's got 2 championships.
I know
He's got 9 Pro Bowls, which implies he was definitely one of the better quarterbacks of his time. His completion percentage, which you knocked, was actually about average for what it was then. It was also a game driven by defense. And I admit Elway's teams won partially because of defense, but he did have a part
I'm
in
not
them.
saying he didn't have
100%.
any part. I
I
never
know.
said that.
I understand
Just
that.
the teams that he had were they were built so much better than the teams Mourinho had. If you're going to compare Mourinho and
That's
him,
fine.
the teams are
But
completely
Marino's a
different.
better quarterback, so I'm not going to argue that because I know
Right,
Marino's
right.
a
I
better
was just
quarterback.
going by like JB had mentioned Mourinho earlier. And
Right.
And
Marino
you
was
can't
Marino
really
was the
judge-
first, though.
you can't
He
really
wanted
judge.
to use He wanted to use Mourinho because he's another quarterback from that time. That was the
Right,
big
right.
thing.
They were drafted at the same exact time. Yeah, I understand that. But I think if like Mourinho had Elway's team, for example, if he had a Terrell Davis as a running back, I think Mourinho wins Super Bowls because
That's another
especially
thing.
back then, if you had a running game,
Right, and that's
definitely had a
another thing.
shot.
I think that
What-
also means Mourinho
What
had
about
to.
Elway's?
I think Mourinho
stats
just
in the
didn't have to
playoffs?
pass as much.
What's that, JB?
What about Elway's stats in the playoffs?
I don't know. I don't know exactly what his stats are.
He
I also
was-
wanted to look up Terrell Davis because, like I said, he had Terrell Davis, who was a
He
big
was pretty
factor
good
in
in the
them winning
playoffs.
them Super Bowls, the back-to-back
He was
Super
a pretty
Bowls.
solid quarterback in the playoffs. He had 27 touchdowns in the playoffs in 21 games. That's I mean, the playoffs are
That's
harder.
pretty
so
solid, yeah.
those are good numbers. He had it was just shy of 5,000 yards. He had a 54.5 completion percentage, which I know you don't like, but that's still average. That still was average. And he had 21 interceptions. Again, that's pretty normal because defense reigns supreme.
That's about John Elway's stats in the regular season.
But to be fair, you have to also remember that in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different years that he went to the playoffs, he played in 2 or more games. Right. So throwing more interceptions was more likely. Granted, throwing more touchdowns was also more likely. But he had multiple seasons where he played more than one game, which does increase the likelihood of those stats adding up.
He had a lot of really good teams throughout his career. I mean, I'm looking at his career years. The best years were 12-2 as a quarterback, 11-5, 11-5, 10-5, 12-4, a 13-2, a 10-4, and a 10-2, all for his starts.
He had 2 losing seasons. That's it.
Yeah. So I mean, he had a lot. He had a lot of really good teams in his career. It's not a knock. I mean, you can't knock a guy for having great players around him.
You can try if you're you.
Any player would love to have Tom Brady's situation with Bill Belichick. Any player would love to have, but not every player gets to have that. Some players have Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson's situation where you're in Detroit and there's nothing there and you make the best of it and you stay there your entire career and never win anything.
You have a guy like Dan Marino that was great. He just never had the right cast.
He just never had the right team, but you're loyal and some players get lucky and they get to that Super Bowl.
Back then there was a free agency like there is now.
Right. Free agency didn't start till basically the mid-90s.
Yeah, so it really wasn't loyalty. He was kind of locked in. But, listen, there's no comparison. Marino was a beast. By the best passing quarterback of that,
Yeah.
There's no question about that. I love Marino, but you can't really. Your argument, John, just does not hold water. You're out of order.
Huh?
But we're almost out of time. So
I wasn't paying attention to what you said at the end.
You're out of order. Out of order. But anyway, we're almost out of time, and I got to ask this question after seeing the Bears practice Sunday. It was so cool that they sold tickets for practice. It was the wildest thing because the game was over within 15 seconds.
Yeah, I know. I watched a couple minutes.
Joe Judge, we got to get rid of him or what?
I don't know yet.
Are you asking me or are you just asking Jake? Is this just a you and Jake conversation?
On Twitter, I saw this. I didn't even realize this. They had a kickoff that went into the end zone that was live. They got the ball to the 2.
Yeah.
He was a special teams coach for New England.
Yeah.
They ended up getting a safety on that drive. Just, that's his bread and butter.
I think I give him a pass for another season to give him a chance, mainly because these last few games have been guys like Mike Glennon, who is just
But the season was going nowhere before Mike Glennon came in. It was Daniel Jones' season was going nowhere. I mean, you guys signed Kenny Galladay. And Kenny Galladay's done 0. He has 0 touchdowns.
I think that's a combination of not great coaching and a not great quarterback. That's why I'm saying give him a pass for now because I want to see if he makes improvement because technically he made improvement from the last season to this season. Even though it's not a lot, I do feel the team was improved. I just don't think we have the right quarterback-coach combo yet.
I don't know how any Giants fan can have any optimism right now.
I don't.
No,
John.
There's 0.
Hold on. There's no optimism right now.
Joe Judge. Unless the new GM wants him.
You can't do that. If you get rid of Gettleman and you bring in a new GM, Judge has to go and Daniel Jones has to go because the GM
unless it's a guy that likes Judge, which could
be
because he's supposedly very good. The players love him.
Typically, the GMs, when a new GM comes in, he'll clean house and get rid of the coach and get rid of the quarterback, unless the quarterback is like a guy that's proven himself and you can work with. Daniel Jones has not proven himself at all. He hasn't shown any signs of being the franchise.
I won't be pissed off if they get rid of him. I'm just trying to give him the benefit of the doubt that his quarterback situation in the last couple weeks has been beyond atrocious. And I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt.
But
doesn't mean I'm
JB
right.
said, I think it was JB posted that this is the worst team in football. You might think the Texans might be the worst, the Lions might be the worst, Jaguars. This team has more talent than any of those teams, than the Jags, than the Lions, and the Texans. And this team is as bad as those teams. Maybe not record-wise, but the play that they have on the field, they're as bad.
Oh, John, you don't have to remind
Jags,
me. It's painful.
No, I'm just saying, with all the talent that they have,
know.
and they're as bad as these teams, that's what makes me think this is the worst team in football right now. Like, because they should be better than this. There's no reason. Like, the defense is pretty solid. You have some really good players on the defense. They're not great, but it's a solid defense. And the offense has Barkley and some receivers, and nothing gets done on the offense. Like you just mentioned about special teams, how is this possible?
That's his bread and butter.
How is this possible?
It's horrible. It really is horrible.
I don't understand how you guys have taken a step back since I thought Judge was going to be pretty solid. I didn't expect him to be.
Part of it is the drafting, partially.
Yeah. The Tony pick was stupid.
There's a lot of problems, though.
The Tony pick was stupid.
There's a lot of problems with this team. I'd love to continue to talk about it, but we are.
Oh, boy. Uh-oh. NFC East coming in.
If you're playing score, no score, and the Giants are playing, no score.
We mentioned the NFC East, and Eric pops
up. Eric is hanging out behind the scenes because we got to talk after the show. I already know that's why he's here. He does not want to talk about our miserable Giants. Plus, we're out of time, gentlemen. So we do have to wrap up. John, I'll start with you, even though you have disgusted me all episode.
Thank you.
With your John Elway talk.
Thank you.
Where can they find you, buddy?
Fox Sports 1340 AM. I just successfully completed my internship there. So I will be freelancing on the side for Fox Sports 1340 AM Hopewell in Virginia. So I am sticking with them on the side. Also write for Inscriber Magazine on the Sideline Sports section. So we are a team with them. So you're going to want to check out Inscriber Magazine, all the good stuff they have there. Sports Arena on Sideline Sports, Monday and Wednesday nights, 10 Eastern time. Thursday nights, Alex Fleming's NFL Carousel. This Thursday, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern time is the last one of the season, so you're not going to want to miss that. It's going to be a great show hosted by Eric Wilson. I think that's everything, yeah. Because I don't write for Fansided really anymore, so bye-bye, Fansided.
Shavy _ the program, NBA Carousel, NFL Carousel, my good old LA Chargers. They're going to make the playoffs. We'll see.
You're getting the city right finally. It's LA.
Oh, wow.
Right?
I've got to give his old brain a chance.
I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud of you.
The Inscriber Magazine, here, there, everywhere. Most importantly, Sideline Sports.
Absolutely.
Best show going. But that's about it. What about you, Mr. Jacob?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Jake_Malik. And more importantly, as you see scrolling across the screen, this is where you can find Sideline Sports because that's the most important thing that I do. And I think we can all agree this is the most important place. And, John, I'm not going to go there with the most important place. No. This is the most important place for sports news. Instagram and Twitter is Sideline Sport 1. YouTube is Facebook. Sideline Sports, we got a group. We got a page. We got everything. We're on DBNA Television. We are on we're on TikTok. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. You never know where you're going to find us. So just search it. You'll find us somewhere. Anything else, gentlemen, before
Most
we go?
importantly, we have me. You always get these kind of real takes. Okay. No fraudulent takes.
All right, I'm done with this. Anything else, JB? Do you have anything else?
John Elway's not a Hall of Famer.
Because John is just being ridiculous.
See you next week where we can put somebody else in the homeless shelter.
All right, everybody have a good one, and we will see you next time.